What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It's time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych. I'm extra fired up. Why? Because that was an incredible episode of television, Daredevil Born Again, episode 3, and also because of the time change. It's an hour earlier for me now because our time doesn't switch for daylight savings time. So we're recording a whole 2 hours earlier since it was only one episode this week. I'm feeling fresh. I'm feeling ready to go. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. I am TJ Zwarych, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Damon Gray. How you doing, Damon?
I am less tired this time, which is fantastic. I was exhausted last time, if you couldn't tell. And also, if you can't hear me, just let me know. I'll boost the audio on my microphone. But man, what an episode of television. Goes to show, you do not need a killer action sequence to have a great episode of television. It just needs to be really well written, and this one was.
Let me know in the YouTube chat if you're watching us live, and even if you're not, drop a comment in the YouTube chat. Hit us up on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Let us know your thoughts. Is this the best episode of Marvel television yet that we have seen before? If not, let us know in the comments what was the best episode of Marvel television. Because before we get into that, I want to have a little quick edition of Whatcha, Watchin, but I want to know what the chat thinks in terms of what they thought about this episode. We got a very fun 2 guests joining us today. One is not quite here yet. He'll be joining us shortly. Our friend MTF. But joining us here right now from A Bite of Movies and TV podcast, the co-host and our good friend, Noah Reed. Reed Reads, if you know him on socials. How you doing, my friend?
So good. I mean, just to echo, what a good episode of television. How does one even begin initial reactions to start even talking about it? We're here to find out.
I'll give each of you a chance to, scour your minds. Was there an episode of Marvel TV you may think of better than that? And in the meantime, I want to know what you're watching. In Damon's case, a lot of the time, what you've been reading. And we didn't do it last week because it was a 2-episode premiere. We had tons to talk about, but with only 1 episode this week, with MTF not quite here yet, I thought it's a good time to start it out. What you watching, Noah? Let's go to you first.
Ooh, okay. So don't hate on me. I'm catching up on Severance. I'm almost fully caught up. Okay. I'm in the 2nd season, so okay. So I'm currently watching that. Yeah, that's what I'm really trying to get through and making my way through Oscar movies and stuff like that. Yeah,
absolutely. I love to hear it. I'm deep in The White Lotus. I just started season 3. We started season 1 3 days ago. And so we've just been absolutely firing through these episodes. It's a weird ass show, man. I'm enjoying it. But I just kind of find myself being like, it's a little boring. I don't really know what's going on, but I also can't stop watching. I'm just sitting here like I really can't stop watching. Damon, how about you? What you've been watching? What you've been reading?
Been reading so many great books because, as everyone knows, I've been on a major magic kick. Not Magic the Gathering, you fools. Magic, Ilyana Rasputin, my favorite X-Men all of a sudden. And I am fully caught up on all their major books or key books or major storytelling. And then I went back yesterday and I was like, how many issues is she technically in? Let me just do a quick Google search. Oh, 938.
Easy.
That's doable. Let's start going through that. And some of the earliest ones I'm going through are hilarious because she's quite literally in like the background of a panel and it counts as an appearance. And I'm like, sure. So we're going through that.
That is going to be a very long journey. I applaud you, my friend. You definitely dive in when you start to dive in. You don't do things half-ass.
I'm already 148 issues of her through like the key reading. So like I'm already like, over 10% of the way through.
That's going to be like, you might find like a where's magic moment though, because if she's not really in the forefront. You have to really look for her.
There's
So those
one where I
issues-
was like, where even is she? And I had to like go into it. I'm like, oh, there she is.
Good luck.
We've had time to deliberate, so I'm going to ask you now, is Daredevil Born Again episode 3 the best episode of Marvel television? If not, what is? We already got the chat weighing in. We got Ryan Reflects in the chat right now. Our man, our co-owner, one of our leaders, Ryan Cortero. He says Moon Knight episode 5 is peak MCU TV. And I want to know each of your thoughts. I want to know the chat thoughts. Chat, smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And the other person whose thoughts I want to know is MTF. Our friend right now, Michael Terrell, for creator of the Racial Draft, and our friend here. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely thrilled to have you on, and you're going to just join in right on the hot seat off the bat. Is Daredevil Born Again episode 3 the best episode of Marvel TV we have seen? Is it among the best? Where would you rank it among your favorites, MTF?
Oh wow, you really did throw me in on the hot seat.
Yeah, you get no time to go in. You're coming in hot.
I would say definitely it is the best courtroom based episode of Marvel TV. I obviously there are people who are partial to the courtroom scenes in season 2 of Daredevil, but I think this one touched on a lot of issues. I liked the twists and turns of it. I liked how Matt was actually doing some quality lawyering, and not hanging out with his girl Elektra instead. But I think I was expecting maybe a little bit more by way of the social commentary that the episode only touched upon, but I think it could have stood to go a little deeper, particularly when there was the issue about what it means to be a good person and a hero, and hiding your identity versus the form of hiding your identity that is wearing a police uniform and embodying the state. But I think there's room for future episodes to explore that. So I'm really hoping that I just finished the episode, so it's all fresh in my mind. And I think that the interplay between the Punisher tattoo gang and the vigilantes. I mean, I think it's coming to a head, and I think it's really going to tie into the idea of who gets to wield power and violence in the name of justice.
We got this full list up on agentsfandom.com written by the wonderful Mark Pistilli. As my face hides behind the Daredevil background here. That's all right.
You are
guys don't
Daredevil.
see me. You can hear me. This wonderful article, and Mark has listed WandaVision episode 5, Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 3, Loki season 1 episode 5, Loki season 1 episode 6. There's a lot of Loki on this list. Hawkeye episode 6, Moon Knight episode 5, just as Ryan had mentioned in the chat. We got some Ms. Marvel and some more Loki from season 2 as well. Damon, what do you think? Best episode of Marvel TV ever? Among the best, not quite there? What do you think?
I mean, look, I am very partial to my Hawkeye. That's my guy. That's my gal. However, each episode of that series gave us a big action sequence of some sort. This one gave us none of that. The biggest action sequence we got in this episode was a half-hearted car chase. That was it. And it ended up in just a pull stop, like a pullover in the end. The tension in this episode was excellent. Because in the back of my mind, as we don't even know if we're even going to get to this witness, I'm like, oh my God, what are they going to do if they don't get to the witness? If he gets killed before he gets there, type of thing. Like what's gonna go on in the courtroom case. As a just written show, I think this is arguably the best. Possibly there's some episodes of Loki that we mentioned that can be put up against it. If you're very partial to episodes of WandaVision, I think you have a great case for that too, because those are just, classic television episodes. But for a well-written, high-tension episode, this had me the entire time. At no point did I look at the clock to be like, how much time is left? How much time is it? Because I was just enthralled by it. So I think it's up there.
I couldn't agree more. I think that was really well said with the writing aspect of it. It didn't feel like a typical Marvel episode of television. My biggest complaint from the original Daredevil series was the lack of courtroom Matt that we got. I want to see him in lawyer mode, and we get it here. Like, we get it in spades, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Noah, what'd you think? Up there among the very best episodes of Marvel TV?
I would say definitely up there. I am partial to some of the Loki episodes, and who said Moon Knight? Number 5 is Asylum, right? I would say that's probably up there as well. Lamentus is probably my favorite episode of Marvel television from Loki. This one, I have to agree with Damon, though. Writing was so phenomenal in this episode. And it's just effective because the writing in it did the tension. The writing did the action. The writing pushed the story forward. And we actually learned more about Matt than I would have thought we would have in an episode that just took place in a courtroom that wasn't even about him, but turned out to be kind of about him. So yeah, I think it's up there for sure.
And we got to shout out the writer, Jill Blankenship, who is an executive producer on this series as well, for just truly an incredibly well-written episode. I would have liked to enjoy... Oh, that's not the comments I meant to highlight.
Wait, I agree.
One of the reasons why you got to watch us on YouTube specifically. And we shout out to our podcast viewers. We love you. But that was not the comments I meant to highlight. I want to talk about the score at the end of it, because we obviously did just interview the Newton brothers, myself, and Sean Montz, Metalcore Nerds. You can find our interview with the composers of Daredevil Born Again, X-Men 97, and tons of other great projects, the Newton brothers, up on the Agents Fandom YouTube page. So when you're smashing the like button, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell, you can check that out as well. And one of the things we talked about was how this, more than the original Daredevil series, really seems to be utilizing the score throughout the episodes. Like, the music is a lot more prevalent throughout the episodes than it is in the original series. And that was something I really enjoyed throughout this episode. And I believe it was Nate in chat who brought it up, that he really enjoyed the way that was done. And it was an incredible direction choice to, instead of having any music at the end for the credits, focus solely on the Koki frogs and the waves and the sounds of Puerto Rico. And I want to shout out to our friend Carlos Freites, who texted me. He's watching the episode right now. He's not with us yet. I'm sure he'll join us in chat probably in like 20-30 minutes. But he said that is the single most Puerto Rican thing he has ever seen from Marvel. Like, he gets calls. He said when his mom goes to Puerto Rico, she'll call me and hold her phone up to the trees so I can hear the Kokis. And so he said that's like just the single most Puerto Rico thing that's happened in the MCU, and he was really excited to see that. So I want to shout out to him, and I think that was really cool that they did that as well from a storytelling standpoint and from like a representation standpoint, getting that in there for culture as well. Well, I want to talk about the beginning of this episode. Let's start going chronologically through it, give our thoughts. Full spoiler breakdown for Daredevil Born Again episode 3. If you haven't seen it yet, what the hell are you even doing here? We thank you. What the hell are you even doing here? Give us a pause, come back, join us after you had seen the episode. MTF, I find it so interesting. We talked about this a little bit last episode, but the way they're showing the distance between Vanessa and Wilson Fisk, not just, talking about it, but like we're literally seeing it when they're sitting in the therapist's office. They're on the two opposite sides of the couch. When they're having dinner, it's very Bridgerton season 1 vibes. Two total opposite sides of the table as they're seated. What do you think about how they've handled their relationship on the comeback here with the rockiness, how the performance is going? Because it's weird to see this kind of vulnerable side of Fisk when we're seeing this big takeover from him, but he doesn't seem to be at his best, at his strongest right now.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like a very strong story choice to have someone who, when we last saw, you know, Wilson was so committed to her and she was so committed to him, even to the point of joining him on the dark side. And now that he's arguably trying to move to the light side of things, to have her be the force that's trying to pull him back into the dirt, so to speak. Obviously, we know that there's a darkness inside Wilson that can't be satiated, but knowing that it's in season 3, the argument that that love is trying to pull him into the light, now having love pull him into the darkness is an interesting inversion that somewhat mirrors what's happening with Matt, where in the 3rd season he was trying to subsume the Matt Murdock persona in favor of the Daredevil persona, and now you have him doing the opposite. So it's in conversation with the 3rd season of Daredevil in a lot of ways.
I can't help but find it hilarious how, Matt spends 3 seasons of the original series trying to find ways to hurt Wilson Fisk. And then we find out from the gap, one of the first things we find out is that Vanessa's just been cheating on him. And she just accomplishes what he wanted to do, just like that, so easily. Damon, what did you think of the opening sequence with them? And also, we talked a lot about the dichotomy between Fisk and Matt last episode. We got the super cool transition of his bloody knuckles switching to Matt's bloody knuckles. I thought that was so cool and so well done. That was like the first mini twist that I didn't see coming in this episode.
There's the most interesting element of that is that's the second time we've seen the zoom in on Fisk's knuckles, and I'm continuously looking at that and I'm like, is that fresh, or is that just more showing the scars of his past type of thing? And he's just done so much of it that the calluses and the scars are forever on his knuckles, or he is doing things fairly recently. We just haven't seen it yet. And there's a part of me that I'm looking at that. I'm like, I don't know which I prefer. I love the symbolism of that's more of like his scars and they'll forever be there. That will forever be him. And we've mentioned earlier about the score and how it's constantly throughout the series, and the score really is about the demolition of the past and rebuilding up to almost like what they were for both of them, for Matt and for Fisk. It's a mirror of both of them. I think the symbolism of all of that is just so well done. So I'm just very fascinated. Like, is he out going and doing things without us seeing it right now, or is that like the scars?
It's the scars.
I'm
or
leaning
it's
towards the
shit out of
scars.
Adam. Of this Adam character who's been
Poor
who's
Adam.
been cheating on who's been sleeping with Vanessa. I think it might be him. Noah, what do you think?
Well, there's definitely trouble in the mayoral palace of Kingpin and Queenpin. I'm here for it. What is interesting though is that this season or continuation of the show is really kind of breaking them down to their whatever foundation they want to put them at to then continue them. So it's an interesting way to separate it from the Netflix shows to this one. They're making Kingpin take on all these responsibilities and then making Matt completely lose everything. And now we're with new people. I am very interested to see how Fisk handles the stuff that she might be doing outside of the house, and also how she's going to handle potentially what he's doing outside of the house. Because it does seem like maybe that stuff was fresh. I don't know. When he looked at his knuckles, I'm like, that looks like fresh blood. Like, I don't know if that is scars. Like, I do think there is scars, but like, are we really going to say he's not going to be violent? Like, he could just stop? I don't know. I don't trust it. I think they're both on the DL doing something outside. Like, they're doing
Maybe
something.
he's just punching a wall. Like, it could be, honest to God, maybe he's just
In
punching
boxing
a wall.
class,
He could
that's
be.
why he's so slim and trim now.
He needs a way to still get that anger out of him. He talked about that in episode 1, how there's that anger inside of both of them, and it never goes away. So how is he dealing with that anger? I mean, he quite literally could be punching a wall, or hopefully something a little softer.
Well, that
But-
he's
No,
getting.
it's a Daredevil shaped heavy bag.
He's probably then he's going to BB and just being like, I just need to air out all my grievances to you and then get it out to everybody else. He's finding outlets. I don't know if it's growth or not.
I do want to switch gears and start talking about the trial a little bit. Damon, you did mention about how the car chase was like one of the very few action related sequences. And even though it wasn't that action packed, I got to admit, it's still like I was on the edge of my seat throughout this thing as
Very
we're flashing back and forth from courtroom to chase. And genuinely, maybe I'm an idiot, but genuinely, when they did the old switcheroo, and the cop pulls him over, and it's Cherry with no one in the back of the van, they got me. I thought that was great.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
for
me
sure.
too. They got me. I thought like if anything, he was gonna be like hiding underneath a box or something, right? But no, they got me. And the key thing there is not that it was like an exciting chase; it was the stakes of it. The entire trial, it seemed like at the time, it was like based on whether or not we get this witness there, and that's where we're
And
going
then
back
it
to
ended
the
up not
writing.
mattering anyway.
But in the moment, the whole case relied on this witness. That was like, if he went, honestly, God, if he went up there and spilled the beans, it's case
Right.
closed at that point, right? So that's where we go back to the writing of it, and it showed the stakes of it. It was so like, hats off. I'm not taking my actual hat off, but hats off.
MTF, what did you've got some experience with in the court of law. I don't know actually know what you do. I just know that
I
something
don't have,
related to
I don't have
lawyering.
experience of bringing people from safe houses to court, but
Oh,
I
dang.
do have the experience of sitting at the table hoping that my witness shows up on time. That can be very stressful. So it'd be useful to have Matt super hearing and know that he got out of the cab and you just have to stall for about 30 seconds. But you know. So I got that aspect, and it was super tense from that respect. I was like, "Oh no, how's he gonna pull this off?"
Noah, what do you think of the chase into the beginning of the courtroom scene before we get the big reveal and shit hits the fan? It's crazy how that can be as tension packed as a hallway fight scene.
Yeah, I mean I loved oh, you think you know where it's gonna go, and then it didn't work, and then it kept going this way, and it went this way. I think that was really effective because, like you said, if Nikki Torres was to go up there and be like, yeah, they did it. Okay, so what's the rest of this episode gonna be about? I like that they did this entire episode really in the courtroom. Um, I think there were some interesting choices with the camera work, but I think overall the writing really shone through this episode, and I'm curious how many we're gonna get. Like, is this gonna be like one courtroom episode? Or are we gonna get two in this season? I hope we do get more because I think that will separate it a little from the predecessor. Yeah, I think it was fantastic. I think the acting alone and Hector's testimony, ooh, good, so good.
Yeah,
I love getting to see Matt be a really good lawyer, like he likes to say that we saw him in the one trailer with Mr. Kong. We'll see Kamala Zad maybe at some point in this series. Maybe he's representing him in some capacity. Who knows? Maybe just give him a little legal advice. But I love getting to see this courtroom version of Matt and it fully in gear. And much like the original series, though, we get that feeling of when the happiness is happening, you just know it's not going to last. Like, you just know that other shoe is going to drop at any moment. It feels like we talk about this all the time as well when we're live every Thursday is talking about Invincible and how anytime there's a moment of just like, oh, this is nice. It turned out well. It never, ever, ever lasts. And we've seen that with Matt and Kingpin all the time. Anytime Matt has the upper hand and it's like, I finally did it, things come crashing down over top of him. And so I was expecting that to happen all throughout this episode, and we will get to when it really happens. Damn. But Matt, eventually, when, like we said, the witness, his star witness, doesn't tell the truth on the stand. He folds on them. Somebody has gotten to him. Most likely the cops at some capacity. When did that happen? Since he was in the safe
Yeah,
house.
I think he was just intimidated. I think he was
Yeah.
just intimidated by seeing the wall of blue and knowing
There's a
that
30.
they weren't going to protect him forever. You know, that he'd probably seen those cops get up to some dirt at some point, and he knew that the other cops had tried to kill him once before. So, you know, this is any number of them could have had the Punisher tattoo, have a reputation about them as far as extrajudicial killings, and you know, making eye contact. I think we're going to find out that whoever killed White Tiger was in that courtroom.
That's the most likely outcome, and I think you're right. But I'm still going to throw out an alternate theory. What if the dude that was working with Matt and Cherry, who dropped him off at the courthouse, is secretly working for the Fisks, and he intimidated him and said, "There's no way you can talk because my employer said so." Damon, you think that's bullshit?
I hope that's not the case. It's possible, but at that point, it seems more like it's just the Punisher people, right? The people who think this is what the Punisher stands for, and just as like an idea of that, the concept that Marvel Television, Marvel Studios, is addressing head on, like the people who look at the Punisher logo, the cops who look at the Punisher logo, anyday people who look at that and be like, this is what it actually stands for, when it doesn't at all. Like, these are the people that Frank hates famously. And they're like, no, we're going to take this story head on. We're not going to beat around it. I think that is wild that we're actually at that point. I hope they continue to do this, because if they set this up and they don't go anywhere with it, I'll be livid. But the fact that it seems like they're like tackling this head on is fascinating to me.
I mean, they should, right? Like, why the comics do it? It's not like we can't see it in the comics,
yeah,
but like
a little bit. It's not like just like a whole run, which you kind of
Right,
like would expect, like not a run, like a solid arc about it. There's scenes, we have panels, but there's not like a whole arc. Even recently, when they changed the Punisher's logo, everyone's like, "Oh, it's because it has to do with this." In the story, it more had to do with the fact that like the Punisher was just like dealing with the hand, and he became like the beast of the hand type of thing. That's really why he changed his logo. It had really nothing to do with the fact that other people were using his logo as that. If Marvel's actually doing this, I again, hats off. Like, I think that's great.
Yeah, and it's not, and to me, it's not just about, you know, what you had mentioned before, just the idea of people misunderstanding, you know, what the Punisher stands for as something laudable, but particularly within law enforcement, particularly
Absolutely,
when
yeah.
it comes to trying to apply the whole Blue Lives Matter, back the blue idea of, you know, just unshackle the cops, let them do what the Punisher does, and you have, you know, in their mode of thinking is that it's these pesky constitutional rights and that are keeping them from really meting out justice. But in a way, it's the inversion of the vigilante argument. You know, it's still people taking the law into their own hands, but it's people who are ostensibly supposed to be upholding the law taking the law into their own hands.
I'm really excited because we know the Punisher's involved in this,
Oh, yeah.
or he's gonna show up at some point. So I'm really interested to see when he starts seeing his logo tattooed literally on the necks of cops. It's gonna be rough.
Yeah, we've seen the wrist tattoos, we've seen the neck tattoos, and obviously we'll
Well,
talk about the end of this.
Well, now I'm
episode.
starting to wonder. Now I'm starting to wonder if Matt is going to find out that the person that killed Hector Ayala was wearing the Punisher logo, so he's perhaps tracking down Frank because he thinks that Frank was the one that did it.
Do we think though that Matt is doing any nightly activities at the moment?
No, I do
No,
think we see
not
that
yet.
isn't the first, like when we saw them in the trailer, isn't it Matt who's visiting him and not
It seemed
and
like
not
Matt was more
Daredevil.
searching for him. Yeah, it was definitely
Mm-hmm.
not as Daredevil, but
Yeah.
it more also seemed like Matt
Right.
was searching for him, type
Okay.
of thing.
So he's looking out for it. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I was originally thinking that the chat's getting me again. Shout out to Layla joining us in the middle of the night in the UK right now, staying up not only for the episode but to hang out with us as well, making me crack up on the episode. We appreciate you being here. I think I really hope they go that route with the story. I was initially thinking the reason we'd see Frank is, when Muse comes out, he's reportedly going to have his powers, and I thought Daredevil would be having a really, really tough time with him, and so we'd go for Frank for a little help for a team up. But this is a cooler story. I think this is a much cooler way to go about it, and so I'm happy. I'm always happy to theorize and be wrong, especially when the reality is so much cooler than what I was theorizing with. I want to talk about how Matt handled things after the witness goes, haywire, and he decides to go against what he was planning to say. Because in the conversation between Matt and Hector, we obviously, hear the parallels. Hector saying all these things you don't understand, Matt saying all these things, and hey, you'll be surprised how little you miss it, and things like that. Matt's being a little hypocritical, and Hector's being really on the nose with how he's describing things. But then I just can't help but think, damn, if somebody did this to you, what if Foggy did that to you at some point if you were on trial? Well, I understand you needed to win the case, but it felt like a little bit of an overstep. What did you think, Noah?
Yeah, I mean, he outed him. Like, he literally took him out of the vigilante closet in front of a courtroom and was like, oh, by the way, I know I said I wasn't going to bring this up, but, this guy.
And then he had the nerve to be like, you need to look out for your family. Well, you didn't have a white tiger. Thanks, man.
He said, oh, your days of white tiger is over. It's like, yeah, everybody knows who he is. That's your fault, Matt. I mean, I think he had no other hand to play. So if this didn't work out, I don't know what Matt would have done. But I'm glad that he went with, okay, let's tell people how you save people, and it will mirror what you were trying to do. That makes sense. But outing a fellow vigilante, woo.
As a lawyer, that's the thing. You nailed it right at the end there. As a lawyer, I get it. I totally get it. You're trying to keep your client out of jail. As a fellow vigilante, you're breaking a code. Like, you cannot do that.
But I mentioned this in the chat too. I know we're going to get to it, but it's like the result of this case, the precedent that this case just set going forward in like the Marvel universe or as a whole, they just made it so any vigilante can go out, that was essentially manslaughter, by the way. Accidentally kill someone.
I was like, if that were me, the manslaughter one might have come up.
Like, they claim self-defense, which is essentially why he didn't get convicted of it. But he can go, like, a vigilante go out there, do their thing, and not be convicted of anything. What Matt just won for the vigilante community is crazy to think about as a president.
Yeah, well,
that's probably why Fisk. Yeah, that's probably why Fisk is going to have either an executive order or push through some kind of
some law
ordinance that bans vigilantes, except for his special brand of Punisher vigilantes.
There was maybe not recently. What was the storyline? Didn't
Devil's Reign?
Devil's Reign.
Okay, Devil's Reign.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay,
I guess he used the Thunderbolts as his official
that's
vigilante team. I think that's the role that the Punishers are going to play, and I also think that's how I think that's also going to be how Bullseye gets out of jail.
That makes sense. Wow, Thunderbolts is coming out soon. Wow, what a coincidence.
I had a theory. There's no way. Could you imagine if Marvel actually tying this up to like where the finale of this show led into the Thunderbolts, which led? There's no chance. But like that would have been like.
I know you got a theory, and I want to let you hit on it, but I gotta shout out to the chat because ever since that that Noah was like, yeah, he kind of outed him. He kind of brought him right out of the vigilante closet. The chat's going crazy, and Lilith says Matt is part of the LGBTQV vigilante community, having the V for vigilante as part of the
I approve that message. I like that. I don't care how good that stubble is on him. You can't do that. No. Come on, Matt. Jeez Louise.
Damon, you've been theorizing about this law being put into effect since before we even saw an episode, since we've been seeing the trailers.
Yeah, no, this is the clear direction, in my opinion, where the show this season is going to be ending. If you read any of these Daredevil comics, you know that at some point Mayor Fisk comes down and bans vigilantism. Straight up bans it. Unless if you are a part of my team of vigilantes, my enforcers, you are illegal, which is how all these heroes end up going to prison. Matt's already in prison for accidentally murdering someone. That was manslaughter. But all these other heroes, like the Fantastic Four, go to prison. It's kind of crazy. And all these other heroes. And that ends up becoming Devil's Reign. And to me, I don't think we're going to go full Devil's Reign just yet. To me, if we are going to tell the Devil's Reign story, that is your quote-unquote TV endgame type of moment, especially with how that ends. But we're building up. We're rapidly building up to it. So it would not surprise me if by the end of this season, that law is put into power. And then we see the ramifications of it next season.
That would be the ideal, right? It's like use this whole season to ramp that up and then get Jessica Jones back in here because all the vigilantes are not able to do it and they all have to band together. I just want Jessica Jones back, but it's clear that could happen that way.
Carlos, who has not finished the episode, just chimes in and pops in to say the exact same thing in chat that I wanted to bring up next. And that's what we got to mention here.
Easter egg.
When going through the testimonials and police reports of White Tiger, one of them is written by a Officer Morales. Now, we of course know that the father of Miles Morales, Spider-Man, is of course an officer. He has gone by two different names at various points, Jefferson Davis, but also Jefferson Morales. MTF, I'll throw it to you here. Do you think this is a random, silly name? It's New York. There's lots of Moraleses, or is this a specific tie to Miles?
I'm inclined to believe that it is a coinkydink. Only because, as a Brooklynite, I would hate to see Officer Morales relocated to Washington Heights. So, you got to maybe a cousin. Maybe he's a cousin.
Ryan saying in chat, or is it America Ferrera's Officer Morales from What If? Noah, what do you think? Is this a shout out to Miles' dad or a complete coincidence?
I think it's both. Yeah, I think they know what they're doing. They're being cheeky with that name for sure. Because people like us are going to be like, oh.
Officer Morales.
Exactly. Yeah. I think they know what they're doing.
Damon, what do you think?
Easter egg, baby. Easter egg. Marvel can say names of characters, of spider-related characters. You just can't show them.
That's true.
It seems like one of those things where they're just going to be like, oh yeah, that little kid in the Iron Man mask, that was actually Peter Parker. Just like one of those things they can leave the door open for, like, if they want, hey, this is Officer Morales, that's Miles' dad. Or no, that was just a random name. They can do whatever they want with it. We got more people piling into the YouTube chat as we go. Thank you so much.
Speaking of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Speaking of Easter eggs, he's living with his niece. Hector Ayala's got a niece, guys.
Can I? We talked about this. I was gonna say.
I saw a photo of a little girl up on the wall too, and now lo and behold.
Okay, we'll get there.
We'll get there for sure. But I was gonna say we got a lot of new people popping up in the YouTube chat. Shout out to those who are joining us live right now. Smash the like button. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. We got lots of great stuff coming in the future. Every Tuesday, we're talking Daredevil Born Again. Every Thursday, we're talking Invincible, actually just until next week, because it's the last final episode of Invincible this week. And then Damon, AF, and Fat Thor will be returning to the Comic Corner on Thursdays. Every Friday, we'll be talking Severance. And that's just until April comes, because we have Andor, we have The Last of Us that we will be covering live every week as well. Based on that fist pump, I know Noah's going to be joining us for at least one episode of The Last of Us as well. Layla and chat, might have Noah here rivaling you in your Pedro fandom. We'll have to see. We'll have to have the two of you
bring it.
Go for some trivia or something like that.
Oh, bring it.
But like I said, lots of fun shows coming up and lots of interviews already there. You can find my interview with Daredevil Born Again showrunner, executive producer, and composers Dario Scardapan, Sana Amanat, and the Newton brothers up on the Agents of Fandom YouTube page, as well as Invincible interviews with Robert Kirkman and Simon Rasiopa, as well as Captain America Brave New World interview with the director, Julius Ona. So lots of stuff. Smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, like all of that good stuff. Damon, we were talking about this, I think, a little bit maybe at the beginning of the episode or before we went live. The not guilty verdict was genuinely shocking for me. Like I didn't think that was going their way.
No, because in the court, the case of the century comic, he's guilty. They read him as guilty in that book, and he tried to escape after that. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, here we go. Here comes the sad part. Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
See, I was thinking he was going to get murdered in the courtroom after being acquitted in front of his whole family, and I was bummed. I was worried that that's the direction they were going to take it. That he'd get the victory, but it'd be a Pyrrhic victory.
Ooh. Yikes.
It lasted a little longer than that, at least.
He got to put the suit back on one more time. His White Tiger days were not over.
Actually see him in the suit, which was nice.
No, what'd you think? Did you were you expecting the not guilty verdict, or was that a twist for you as much as it was for us?
Oh yeah, a twist. Yeah, I think this show and just kind of, life and stuff like that, you tend to expect the worst. And this show so far, even in the first 15 minutes of the first episode, I'm like, this isn't happy time show. This is sad time show. And I was like, he's gonna be guilty. And I was like, oh, sweet. And I was like, oh no.
No, my immediate thought when that happened was like, oh, are we gonna go like the Daredevil kind of adopts him as his new sidekick route? Because I kept going on that in my head this entire show, because we all know that this run is based off of Charles Soule's run where he has a sidekick named Blind Spot. Nope.
Or he could have even helped him, Matt, go back to his vigilante ways. He's like, oh, maybe we could go out together. And no, nope.
Did any of you guys think that he would out himself to Hector at any point?
I thought he was going to at some point.
When they were talking in the cell, that's when I thought he was going to do that. I was like, oh, cool. He's going to vigilante to vigilante. I did this because...
He's like, I told the world your secret. It's only right that you know my secret.
But don't tell anybody.
You're wrong. You're wrong to out someone's superhero identity. Don't do that.
After we get the not guilty verdict, it doesn't last long, but we get, the cool suit up montage for Hector. We see his amulet. He's going out to the street. He's doing his little strut. He hears the scream, and bam, shot right in the temple. You see the brain splash out. There is mystical amulet or not, there is no hope in hell our man survives this one. That was just gone. MTF, I'll throw it to you first, because it sounds like you were kind of expecting that he might not make it out of this episode.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, spoilers for the comics. Hector doesn't last very long after being Matt's client. So, I fully expected something bad to happen to him. And I was just trying to figure out what would be the most dramatic and most traumatic for Matt. But this is pretty rough too. He's out on the town, he's trying to save someone. I thought it was looking back, it might have been an ambush. Which is even more sad because he just wants to help out his community, and now he's splattering on the pavement. So You know, we hardly knew you, White Tiger. Prequel series. Um, yeah, bum me out. Especially because additionally, you know, the actor's no longer
Mhm.
with us. And you know, he did an amazing job in the
A
role.
fantastic
We
job.
have to shout him out for sure.
Absolutely. An absolutely incredible job. Shout out to him. They had the in memoriam for him at the end of the second episode, and it's a shame he's not going to be able to be here to see all the praise for his character for the wonderful job that he has done. Noah, did you expect him to come out of this episode? I thought he was going to have a bigger role throughout the series.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, same. I thought, especially with how heavily he was shown in the trailer, and I'm not too sure if that was just on purpose or because of what happened to the actor himself. But it leads you to believe that he would be involved a little more. Are we 100,000% sure that this amulet has no healing properties? Like, there's no deep dive in this to where he could.
I mean, probably not heal from a bullet to the head properties.
I
You know,
just.
you know,
Come on,
yeah.
he should get the same guy that does the outfits that Daredevil was getting. Is there something? Yeah. I think.
That's what he needed to do. He needed to say, look, you know, before you head out, this is my guy, bulletproof helmets.
Yeah.
You know, it goes a long way.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I'm sad. I think, and it was also just visually his suit. Obviously, it's very Moon Knight coded. Just in my thought of like, oh, he's does it in the night. He wants people to see him. So I like that aspect of him that he doesn't really care if people see him coming. Definitely gone too soon. I wanted to see him in action because we didn't really get to see him.
No, we didn't.
Damon Pierre is making a great point in chat about how they very specifically kind of make a point that after the guy shoots him to show that he runs right away and that the amulet is still there on Hector's chest.
That's what I'm
after he
saying.
dies. Question one, did you think he was making it out of this episode, that we were going to see more of him? And two, will we see Ayala, the White Tiger, in this series? We know he's living with his niece. We've seen the photo on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to see her in the series?
All right.
How old is she?
Varies.
Teenager.
Well,
kind
no,
of
I mean
face
in the
over
show,
mask.
because I couldn't
Oh.
remember the photo that was
I don't think-
shown.
I don't think they. I mean, I think they kept it intentionally blurry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a theory. Do you guys mind if I say it?
Hop in.
I think in the either post credit or most likely closing montage of the season, they're going to show someone who has not yet been cast put on the White Tiger amulet and leave that door open for fingers crossed Jenna Ortega pick up that baton.
Ooh.
It's possible.
If Jenna Ortega is the next White Tiger and they actually sign that deal, that character is about to absolutely skyrocket in popularity. Buy your White Tiger, buy your Ava Ayala White Tiger merch, buy your first appearances in comics, buy your stock, because that character is going to become hella popular if we get Jenna Ortega here. I agree with you. I think that's probably exactly going to happen. Do what they did with Tommy and Agatha all along. Damon, back to you. What do you think? Did you expect it? Are we gonna see her?
Once he stepped outside, I was like, uh-oh. Yeah. There was a part of me that was the end of our last episode. I was like, oh man, they're really going to make like this case like the majority of the season. This is going to be a thing we build up to. So I was really surprised the case ended here, and unfortunately so did this character as well. As for Ava, I talked to y'all before we started recording, and I'll say this. I am terrified if that girl puts on that suit in this series. They take no prisoners so far in this show. I'd be terrified for the next person to put on that suit. Anyone who isn't the Punisher in this show, to me, seems like fair game. Because it's like, it's crazy who they're willing to kind of like let off in the most terrible of circumstances. Would I like to see Jenna Ortega in that role? Heck yeah. Bring in the president's daughter and like let's kind of shove that off to the side. It's fine. No one remembers. So
Oh
Sure.
shit! Oh, I totally
Yeah.
forgot about that. But I was there's so many of those now. Like even outside of like the like super obvious Gemma Chans and things like that. I forgot that. Oh my gosh, what's her name in Luke Cage? But
That's would it.
yeah, like I forgot
Mhm.
that Cottonmouth's cousin was the same woman
Mariah
in
Dillard.
Mariah. Thank you, Mariah Dillard.
Yep.
I forgot Mariah Dillard was the person in Civil War who goes up to Tony and was like, "You killed my son in Sokovia." And so there's so many of those that pop up. Noah, do you think we're gonna see a younger White Tiger pop up in this series?
I think so. I mean, I not only because this character means a lot for representation and they really showcase the character in general. And it seems like the MCU right now is very much about legacy and passing some of those mantles along. If it's Jenna Ortega, I would be very surprised if she doesn't make it out of the series. Like I feel like they would showcase her in some type of way. So let's maybe hope that it's her. That way we can
Well,
see.
listen, mind you, I'm saying that she has not been cast yet. I'm saying that they have not cast the role, but they want to keep the door open
Right.
for more White Tiger down the line.
Right.
And then
You just see a hand grab it. You don't see who the hand is. But
Exactly.
You see the hand.
Yeah.
No, you see from the neck down. You see from you see the amulet. You see the suit. You see a little hair. You know,
Vagueness.
ambiguous person. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see.
As Damon, oh sorry, you go into you.
no, I was gonna say. I mean, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but I think it was reported in the trades that some other vigilante adjacent people will be showing up. So, given that, what we know about that, are there some other? Do you guys each have like a wish list of non-defenders verse vigilantes who you'd like to see have quick cameos?
I've never wanted Kate Bishop to show up less.
Imagine Kate
Damon
Bishop
wants
in the
Kate
show.
Bishop to show up in everything, and I asked Sana Amanat about Kate Bishop and Kamala Khan for two reasons. One, because she's the executive producer of Hawkeye, executive producer of Ms. Marvel. She's the editor of Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel and Daredevil comics. So I was like, like it's New York. We've seen Kamala's dad. Like there's the part where apparently Jack Duquesne's swordsman is going to be in this.
Yeah,
series.
that was who I was
Yeah.
alluding to. Sorry.
I do
Well,
not
we-
want her
sorry,
to
my
show
bad.
up in this show because I'd be terrified of her future in this show. I've never wanted her to show up less. Show up in Happy Go Lucky Miss Marvel Season 2. Show up in Hawkeye Season 2. Show up in Young Avengers, whatever. In this show, no.
Hey,
Keep her
maybe
away.
we need it.
It would be like if they introduced Jeff the Landshark in a Deadpool movie. I would be terrified for my boy. I'd be I would not know if he's going to make it out of that movie alive. It's one of those scenarios.
There's no way they would do that to Kate Bishop. Kate Bishop's going to be around for a while. Damon, you can hold out hope that
A
if she's not
while.
in
I've been waiting for her for a while, sir. It's been like 4 years.
That has been a while.
too busy with Josh Allen to be having the bow and arrow. Damon, I'm sorry, but have you seen his last contract? He's almost going to be as rich as her one day. But back to the show. Damon brought this up earlier, and it's clearly scarring him that a lot of people are looking like they might die in this show. Nobody's safe. We've already seen R.I.P. our guy Foggy. We've seen Hector take a bullet straight to the brains at the end of this episode. They are not going to be. They're not going to be holding anything back. So we'll play a little game of who will live and who will die. I'm going to name some characters, and I want you each to tell me, do you think they will survive this series or at least season 1? And if not, who's taking them out? How are they going to go? And so we'll start off with a light one, a character that is just brand new to this series. A lot of people I've seen, and I'm kind of one of them, I agree, felt like his absence, like, why is he even here? He could just be, if you put another character in this spot, it might be more exciting, and that's Cherry. That's former.
Oh, that's my guy,
That's
Clark Johnson.
So MTF, I'll throw it to you. One, do you not think it would have been a lot cooler and more emotional if Brett Mahoney chases Daredevil up the stairs, sees him almost murder Bullseye, whip off the helmet, and it's Matt Murdock?
Okay, well that's not fair because I've met the actor who plays Brett Mahoney. And he's cool as hell. So like, yes, obviously I'd like him to get more work, but at this point, if Brett Mahoney shows up in this show, but
Ah,
whereas Clark Johnson's got a little bit more cred. Shout out to wireheads out there and the homicide life in the street heads. He brings a lot of soulfulness and gravitas, even with the limited amount of screen time that he has. But he's definitely not making out of the show. He's definitely going he's going full Ben Urich. He's getting killed probably by the Kingpin, or at least someone Kingpin adjacent. Bye bye, Cherry. We hardly knew you.
Noah's Jerry making it through this season?
I don't know. I feel like he might, at least this season, only because they took out Foggy, literally, and Karen. And so they put characters that kind of took their place almost. And so if you keep taking those characters out, that might be a little weird to fill those roles constantly. I don't know. I feel like he might stick around for a little bit.
Damon, how about you? Is he surviving?
I don't think so. But
Oh,
I
come
know
on.
a great
If I may,
replacement.
here's the thing. If I may, who could be a great could be a great private detective for his firm in season 2?
Jessica
I
Jones.
mean, yeah, I was gonna say
Yes.
that's what I was leaning to. I know a great private eye who's chilling in Harlem,
Okay, well, if that's the
who's
case,
kind of bulletproof.
can I change my answer?
Actually, she's not bulletproof, Lucas, but you get the point.
Yeah. Next one, Damon, I'll start with you first. Will his law partner, Kirsten McDuffie, survive Daredevil Born Again? Is Matt gonna have to change the name of his law firm again?
Nah, she'll make it through. We can't kill everyone here.
No, what do you think?
Oh,
I agree. She's gonna stay.
I do too, and I hope she does. I really like this actor. I like the character. I hope she does as well. MTF, what do you think? Does
So-
Kirsten McDuffie make
I've
it
got a
through?
curveball. She's going to live, but she's going to leave. She's going to end up in a lot of peril where you think she's going to die, and maybe even fall to death. But I think she's not long for she's not making season 2.
Oh my god, I have a horrible idea.
What if she becomes a new district attorney that is going to
You-
prosecute Matt Murdock?
Ooh.
Right, you
Oh, yeah,
took
but
it
she doesn't
straight
know-
from my brain.
No, she doesn't know his identity, right? So
Not
I mean,
yet.
Yes, he took it straight from my brain. Love
That was I
Love
was
that.
literally my gears were turning at the exact same time too. I'm like, as soon as you lit up,
Okay.
that was like same as me of like,
Love that.
ooh, what if
yeah.
Fisk makes her the new DA and reveals that Matt Murdock is Daredevil?
Yes,
Yeah, because
which
he
has
does
some
know. Yeah.
which has some slight comic precedent because
Yeah.
in the Sewell run, it's actually Matt who becomes the DA, but we can't really do that here. But we can have Kirsten become DA.
Especially because I don't think the DA's making it out the season alive either.
No.
And she
Yeah.
was an ADA before she joined the firm.
Yeah, that's
So-
what I was thinking as well. Like that's where she started things out, so I could see that as well. What about? Oh, pardon me, I'm forgetting her name right now.
Heather.
Heather, thank you, Heather Glenn.
Okay.
MTF, will Heather Glenn survive this series?
She will not. Dr. Patient Confidentiality will die with her.
Noah, what about you?
I mean, I don't really know. Like, it depends on how close they get in this season. I hope she does because I like Matt having some type of love, but she's too close to Kingpin and Vanessa right now, and that's kind of scary. So,
Damon?
She's not gonna die, but I need somebody to get blind spotted in this show. I need somebody to get blind spotted.
Can
it
we
has to
not
be
wish
her.
these characters harm?
And what I mean by that,
Damon
is-
watches the Batman show, and with that has the Joker in it, and he's like, I just need somebody to take a crowbar to the head right now.
and
You know
what I
what?
mean
That
by
could be
that,
Cherry. I could see Cherry getting blindspotted if we're not killing him.
and what I mean by that is Muse, our good friend Muse, who we haven't seen yet, but we've seen teases of, quite literally takes his two fingers and blinds Matt's protege. And I have a bad feeling that Heather is going to be the one who gets that treatment.
Oh,
But at least she lives, guys. Come on.
At what cost?
exactly. Tears of blood. Tears of blood.
Any other predictions for Daredevil Born Again, episode 4 or beyond for the rest of the season? Damon, throw it to you first. Any theories or predictions?
Well, I gave you my big one, which was our big theory going in, which is we all have a feeling, seems pretty clear, that by the end, Kingpin will settle down a law that will ban vigilantism. However, I need Muse to do something in this show. I need him to do something horrible in this show. And a lot of this show is about how Kingpin's trying to become better, and Matt's also trying to become better by getting away from their personas, but by the end, they become who they truly are. Muse is going to take out Vanessa. That's going to be the thing that puts Fisk over the edge, because he's going to see Muse as a vigilante when he's not. But he's going to see it as that, and that's going to be the thing that really, truly puts him over the edge. Or, to make matters even worse, because I feel like Matt's still going to have his no-kill rule, and I do not think Matt is going to kill in this series yet if we get to that point. It's going to be one of the cops who pretend to be Punisher who takes out Muse. That will be the see this works.
Yeah, like it's that part I can definitely think about. Because this runs counter to my prediction, which is that we don't know who ordered the hit on Foggy, and my prediction is that it was Vanessa who ordered Foggy killed. So for that,
too.
For that reason, I kind of like her to stick around, so that Kingpin has to deal, so that Wilson has to deal with the reality that she has been playing him and running all these games in the background. But obviously, I think that in the end, she will either find her way back to Wilson or go to jail, so that Fisk can ascend.
Noah, how about you? Any big theories for the next episode?
I mean, I don't know how to follow those two theories. That's the whole season. Like, we got it all tracked out.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I do hope Vanessa sticks around, because I'm really, really liking this just dynamic between the two Kingpins currently, of Wilson kind of taking her into this world, leaving her, and then him wanting to push her out or forget about it. So it's just really interesting. Also, the actor I very much enjoy. I mean, I think we are going towards them outlawing vigilantism. Like, that's very apparent. I'd be very surprised if that's not where we go. But yeah, I mean, I do hope we get more slutty Matt, though. I have to say it.
For sure.
I'm just saying, because it's been a lot. There's not enough slut for me from the Matt side.
Not enough Charlie. Not enough cock swinging.
Come on,
yeah.
come on. This stuff can only get him too far.
I agree. Like, I was hoping for Jen to make a cameo and them to go to Pound Town. I was hoping Matt just
There's
goes
still
slow.
time.
I
Full
thought that he
slutty
was
mode.
going to pop that McLaren and pop something else at the end of the night, and then we cut over to White Tower getting popped, and it was going to be
Oh, no!
highs and lows.
Here's something. Here's something for you right here. And I don't actually know the answer to this, and I'm sure if Noah doesn't know the answer, I know Emma and Pat will be able to answer it for me. Do we see Matt Murdock's full butt in the original series?
Yeah, no, I think
I don't
maybe
think so.
side
We see
cheek.
other butt. We don't
I
see
think-
Matt's butt.
I think no, I think we do see like some side cheek. We definitely almost see, especially when he's getting taken care of by the night nurse.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we see full.
Chat
But-
saying no full butt. My theory, my prediction is Matt will go full Matt Hordock mode, and we will see the full man butt of Matt Murdock here in Daredevil Born Again season 1.
That's your big prediction?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
it.
I agree with that. Have we seen his bathroom situation in this new apartment? Which I'm not too sure how I feel about yet, but have we seen his bathroom? Because if there is a glass door, 100% Matt butt.
Oh yeah, shower
Mhm.
shower booty.
Yeah,
through
they're
the-
gonna Gone
through the
Girl this
stained glass.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
The MCU loves a man butt, and they even showed in Agatha they love a woman butt too. So I think we're getting some Matt Murdock cheeks
Mhm.
in Daredevil Born Again season 1. That's my prediction.
Matt Murdock buttock. Ooh.
Can I say my one last thing about this episode that I do find rather funny? What was the one rule, TJ, that Feige apparently told Ryan Reynolds that they could not do in Deadpool?
No cocaine.
Did we not see a bag of cocaine in this episode?
I thought that
Some
was heroin. I think that was heroin.
Was it?
I thought it was a little
that would
very
make sense
powdery.
what he was saying in terms of
That's fair.
the sweat, so you don't pass out throughout the thing.
Fair enough. Cocaine bad.
We're all like,
heroin fine.
actually, that's not. It's the other hard drug.
Well, guys.
Heroin is fine. No cocaine though.
No. Don't do drugs, kids.
Unless they're leafy and come from the ground. Damn it, no, that's what cocaine is too. Never mind. We're going off the rails here. I did forget to ask this before we went into Who Lives, Who Dies, but that's not like we're all on the same page that was not Frank Castle who shot White Tiger in the head, right? Because that was a very good-looking Punisher suit, but that couldn't have been Frank.
He's not hiding in bushes like that. Absolutely not.
Yep.
Kidding me?
Yeah, he would face him up. He wouldn't shoot him off to the side like that. That is definitely Punisher copycats. Copycats.
Oh, cowards. For sure. That was a coward way to kill somebody.
Damon, you brought up how at the beginning of this episode it was shaping up to be essentially like what we wanted Spider-Man 4 to be, like Kingpin involved, Matt involved, Peter Parker on trial for a crime he didn't commit.
Well,
and
not even
Matt's
that.
lawyer.
It was more talking about how at the very, very beginning of the episode was Vanessa and Kingpin talking about the power vacuum that they left in the city. And that specifically is what I really want Spider-Man 4 to be about, is all these other gangs trying to take over that power vacuum, and a little Daredevil Spider-Man team up to kind of try to like take down these other heads, whether it be like either a Tombstone or Yowl or
Mr.
whatever.
Negative.
Sure. Like a bunch of different, like we have so many different routes that we can go there, and that's what I want it to be about. It's possible now. I just hope it's not a multiverse movie.
I mean, it does beg the question, though, like how big they can go in some of these shows, especially in like New York, because then it's like, we know Spider-Man is there. We know Kamala Khan is right over there. We know some of these characters are there. And again, they don't need to cross paths, but for the sake of like, okay, why wouldn't Spider-Man be helping out at this moment? So I'm interested to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Damon, what is coming up this week on the final Saturday of the Comic Corner before things shift back to Thursday?
Oh man, we're gonna have a big discussion on Absolute Superman, a book I've really been enjoying. This is the final days of Absolute Krypton. In this Absolute Superman book, this is a Clark Kent who is not Clark Kent, because he's never grew up in Kansas. This is still Kal-El, and he was on Krypton as a young boy as it exploded. or whatever. We don't really know exactly what happened to this Krypton yet, but I assume it's going to go boom, as all Kryptons do. So we're going to find out how he got to Earth and why he's a little jaded. And also,
Like
X-Men came out this week, and X-Men's pretty fun.
Like I mentioned, the Comic Corner drops wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube on Saturday for now, as we will be having our season finale of Invincible chat live on Thursday. Then on Saturday, we will be live breaking down, on Friday, we'll be live breaking down Severance Season 2, Episode 9. 2 more weeks of that before we start diving into The Last of Us, before we start diving into Andor. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our shows. Subscribe to the Agents Fandom wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. MTF, where can the people find you on socials? Where can they listen to and find the racial draft? What is the racial draft?
Well, I'm glad that you asked. The racial draft is where we change the complexion of the comic book universe, one draft pick at a time. Different racial groups draft characters, whether they be hero or villain, to move into various racial and ethnic groups or solidify them in various racial and ethnic groups. As it stands, the white delegation has both Daredevil and Fandom. So points for them. But we do this on a semi-weekly basis, and we are currently in the midst of our dynasty draft, which means characters get drafted and they get held on to in perpetuity. So stay tuned and follow us on Racial Draft Pod on Twitter, which that's all I call it, but also Blue Sky. You can listen to us everywhere you get a podcast, and you can also find us on YouTube.
Some really interesting and cool conversations that come out of that, except for when you're on the white delegation. I'm not going to lie, it sucks. But every other delegation, it's pretty cool. Our choices are either just play the villains or be shitty. And so
we played the villains last year.
We tried playing the villain last year. Made a very elaborate story for a white Black Panther. It got shut down. It was Damon's story. It wasn't mine. I wasn't involved. It immediately got shut down. But it does bring...
I worked really hard on that.
It does bring up the interesting conversation of, is this character's race, ethnicity, complexion vital to who they are? Because for a lot of characters, like, for example, of course, Black Panther, it's incredibly
and White Tiger.
And White Tiger as well, another character that it's very important for. But there's a lot of other characters that it could not matter less. It's just they are who they are, and their background can be interchangeable. And so it's a really fun to have that conversation, to be part of it. So make sure you check out the Racial Draft podcast, and make sure you also check out A Bite Of podcast, covering movies, covering TVs. Noah, where can the people find you on socials? Where can they find the pod?
Oh, we're everywhere. Just search for it. You'll find it. We're everywhere. YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I do the podcast and the show with the person that I gay kiss with. So it's a lot of fun. we just released our Mickey 17 review. We have the parenting coming up. And we're looking forward to the new season of Doctor Who.
Can't wait to check that out. And I forgot, I'm supposed to be hitting you up about potentially doing some Doctor Who content for us. So that just reminded me right now. And we'll be in touch. Damon, anything else before we get out of here?
Go read some Daredevil comics, ladies and gentlemen.
And good luck getting your hands on some Magik comics. You won't be able to, because Damon has all of them. Wonderful reviews for Noah's podcast in chat. Brandon says, A Bite of Pod is excellent. Go listen to Noah and Derek if you like fun, geeky discussions. And Layla, very articulated, well, I love gay people. So she's going to be checking it out as well. So thank you to everyone who joined us live this week. We had an awesome, very fun chat. We'll be back, like I said, next week, talking episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again. If you want more Daredevil Born Again discussion, you can find our interviews with Sana Amanat, the executive producer with Dario Scardipan, the showrunner, and our nearly hour-long conversation with the Newton brothers, now streaming on YouTube and wherever you get your pods. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. We will see you next time. Peace.